Have you ever tried gouache on black paper and it just looked meh? The colors went flat, the paint streaked, or it just didn't shine? I've been there, and today I will show you 6 easy tricks that will make your gouache bold, clean, and full of glow. You're going to love these colors on black background. First of all, I want to talk about the background, because when I say painting on black, it's not necessarily black paper, because black paper is fine, but I think it's a bit dull, and we could use something different to get a darker black. For example, this is acrylic paint. This is also acrylic paint. This is Indian ink. And this is acrylic ink. And each one has a different way to behave when you apply gouache on top of it. But first, let's talk about the blackness of each. If I compare the black paper and the Indian ink, you can see the difference. This black is much richer, and also it has a slight shine to it, which is due to Indian ink. And I personally don't like that. I prefer using either acrylic ink, and same if I compare the two. Look at the difference it makes. There is a deepness to this one that we don't have in this black paper. And this is the same thing for acrylic ink. Look at the darkness compared to this one. For today, I will use black gesso because it's very rich. It's matte. There is no shine to it, and there is a slight tooth that you don't have with acrylic paint. This is my go-to for today. I let you choose the black surface you prefer. First, let's begin with strong shapes. And I mean it. No details yet. I just want to place the colors. And at this stage, you don't bother about visible brush strokes, accuracy, details. It's not time for that yet. You want to get rid of the black of the paper. And I'm using a paint that is not too thick, but not too liquid either. I'm making kind of a map, if you want. And once you have made your first layer with your colors, it's time to talk about color relativeness. I mean, you have to check your contrast because you are painting on black. Let me show you an example. By the way, if you want more tricks like this, you can grab my 60 gouache tips free PDF. You have the link in the description below. I have this gray. If I place it on the black and if I place it on the white, it doesn't look the same. You see? This one looks light, this one looks dark, and this is what we are looking for, is balancing the background. So this gray will be good for this part of the beak, because I know it shows onto the dark background. But if I was painting on white, I would have made it darker. Obviously, the black in the background will be your darkest color. You have to adjust everything. For example, for the head, the face, I am not using a pure white, or it would be a too strong contrast between the white and the black. And a good tip is to squint so you can see if your values are correct comparing to the reference image if you have one. Now let's move to checking the opacity on a tube, because painting on black, you need opaque colors. When painting with gouache on black paper, but in general, you need to be aware of the opacity. The opacity of a paint is written on the tube for artist quality grade. So for example, this yellow by Holbein, which is a primary yellow, the lemon yellow, has a symbol on it. And the symbol is This is a circle with a line in the middle and it's empty. That means this yellow is transparent. But this other lemon yellow by Schmink has a symbol which is square, but depends on the brands. It's half filled, so it means it's half opaque or half transparent. See it the way you want. But this one has a filled square, and let me show you. You see, this one is really covering the black. Let's use this one, which is half opaque. Well, it begins to be a bit more complicated. Okay, I can make it opaque, but I will have to layer it a lot. It will be hard to maneuver. I could make it opaque, but I would need to make several layers, let them dry between each before getting the opacity I have on the first brush stroke with the opaque paint. Well, this is very important to keep in mind when you are working on dark background. Now it is time to paint the second layer, and in this layer you want to add more details. And the thing is, you are painting on an existing layer that you should let dry before working with the second one. And now consistency is really crucial. You need to have it creamy, not liquid. Think yogurt, not soup. And also you want to apply your paint with a single brush stroke. Don't rub, don't make several brush strokes at the same place because you will lift the paint below. And if it's the same color, that's okay, but if it's a different color, you will get mud. Believe me, I've been there. And it's better to have it more thick than more thin. And now let's move to the final step in the painting. The last thing you want to do is keep the highlights for the very end. Of course, that makes sense. And I think I could use a bit more orangey on the top of the head. Maybe this one, because I know it's opaque. This is really the light hitting. Now, before we wrap up, let me show you two main mistakes I see that people do when painting on black background. First mistake is to use too much water on the second layer. The first one can be a bit watery as we saw, but the second one needs to be thick because several things. This way you have an opaque color as much as you can. You won't disturb the layer under, and it's easier if you want to blend. The second mistake is to apply the highlights too soon. You really want to keep that for the very end of your painting and then put your brush down and don't touch it anymore. And now, here is for the final reveal. Here is the finished painting. I love it. I think painting on black background adds so much dimension to your painting. Can you see how those colors are glowing against the black background? It's all about confident shapes, thick layers, and playing with contrast. Black background isn't a challenge, it's a secret weapon if you know how to use it. And if you want to see more tips and tricks like that, you can grab my 60 gouache tips free PDF. You have the link in description under the video. It's packed with juicy tips about gouache painting. Or you could watch the next video in my series Gouache Essentials. See you next week.